Greetings everyone, and welcome back to our Standing Watch program. What are the real reasons and causes behind this terrible massacre at Fort Hood? Now, I've heard all kinds of explanations and ideas and concepts as to what might have been behind it. But even from a human standpoint, I'm not even talking about anything beyond that, it is amazing to me that the mainstream media is apparently not willing to put their finger on what many, or at least some, look at the crux of the matter. Let me read to you from an article which was published by Fox News, dated November 11. It said, investigators would have been crucified over First Amendment rights if they had launched a full-scale probe into emails Fort Hood massacre suspect Army Major Hasan allegedly sent to a radical imam, a government investigator told Fox News. It went on to say, but even after the attacks, some have been reluctant to cite religion as a factor, as evidence has mounted that the alleged gunman's Muslim faith was at least a partial factor in the decision to mount the attack. Witnesses report hearing Hasan yell, "Allahu Akbar," God is great, during the rampage. Hasan once gave a presentation justifying homicide bombings, according to witnesses. Privately, top army officers have acknowledged that the massacre may have been a terrorist act. Publicly, however, the Army's chief of staff seemed reluctant to acknowledge what happens to be the dominant factor in Hasan's world view. Why is this happening? Why are we not willing, apparently, to even address the issue? As I pointed out in a previous program, ignoring problems never solves them. Fox News is then quoting a contributor who is saying the following: political correctness is turning out to be the death of this country. Is there a hidden relationship between our quote-unquote political correctness, our fear to point out that radical Islam might very well have been responsible for this terrible attack, and perhaps the agenda of our government to appease the Muslim world and to create relationships with the Muslim world more so than has ever been the case before? Somebody sent me an interesting article which was published by the Huffington Post on November 10. Now, the Huffington Post, by all standards, is most certainly not a conservative paper, and it's most certainly not anti-Obama either. But notice what they had to say, and I think if they even say something like that, we should wake up, we should pay attention. This article said, from the first telephone call as president to a head of state, Mahmoud Abbas, president of the Palestinian National Authority, and his first one-on-one television interview with any news organization, Al Arabiya TV, to his bowing to Prince Abdullah of Saudi Arabia, then embracing the Muslim world at Cairo University, and most recently, rebuking Israel in an address to the United Nations General Assembly, Obama has shown far more concern for strengthening ties with authoritarian regimes on the Arabian Peninsula than to maintaining the historically close alliance with the region's only true democracy. The article goes on to say he also equated the suffering of the Palestinians with the loss of 6 million Jewish lives in the Holocaust. They continue. The United States is proving to be a far-weather ally, abandoning Israel in the face of an impending existential threat from a nuclear Iran. And let me just add here that signs seem to indicate more and more that Israel will attack Iran in the near future, feeling that they and only they can prevent Iran from developing a nuclear bomb. The article by the Huffington Post goes on to say, Iran and Syria rank as the leading state sponsors of terrorism, Yet, the President has removed a long-standing export ban on American technology to Syria, allowing the transfer of material that could also benefit the Air Force of Syria's close ally, Iran. At the same time, Obama actually suspended the sale of military equipment to Israel. And then it goes on to say, President Obama's new, quote-unquote, even-handed policy in the Middle East is anything but fair and balanced. His policies increasingly endanger and isolate Israel. But why? Why is this happening, and why is it happening now? After we have had the unwavering support of the United States towards Israel in the past, why suddenly a shift in paradigm? There is a widely distributed video, which is posted on YouTube, in which we see clips from speeches and interviews President Obama has given. These are his own words. And let me quote to you a few of those statements he made. He repeatedly referred in these statements to the Holy Quran. When talking about his upbringing and that family members are Muslims, he said, "I am one of them." He clearly, the video shows that, bowed in front of the Saudi Arabian king, and there's no question about it. Even later the White House seemed to repudiate that or kind of deny it. That's ridiculous. He clearly did. He also said to a journalist, and I quote, "John McCain did not talk about my Muslim faith." And finally, perhaps the most telling statements of all, he said, and again a quote, "We are no longer a Christian nation." Admitting that we were a Christian nation at one time, admitting that the United States of America was actually built on Judeo-Christian values and customs based on the Bible, but that we are no longer such a Christian nation. As I said, we see a tremendous shift in direction. We are finding that it's going to be increasingly more difficult for Christian ministers and Jewish rabbis to quote the Bible in certain respects, because this might not be in conformity with political correctness as defined in the view of certain minorities. We are seeing for the first time in the history of the United States of America a president leading this country who might not stand on the same foundation like all the other presidents in the past have been standing on. The Bible prophesies that there's going to be an increasing deterioration of relationship between Catholic Europe and the United States of America. What we are seeing right now might perhaps tell us why, to an extent, this might be happening. Keep watching, my dear friends, because what we are seeing right now is really unprecedented in the history of the United States of America. Thanks very much for watching. This is Norbert Link for the Standing Watch program.